The scripture reading is from Hebrews, chapter 10, verses 11 through 25. And every priest stands day after day at his service, offering again and again the same sacrifices that can never take away sins. But when Christ had offered for all time a single sacrifice for sins, he sat down at the right hand of God, and since then has been waiting until his enemies would be made a footstool for his feet. For by a single offering he has perfected for all time those who are sanctified. And the Holy Spirit also testifies to us, for after saying, "This is the covenant that I will make with them. After those days, says the Lord, I will put my words into their hearts, and I will write them on their minds." He also adds, "I will remember their sins and their lawless deeds no more." Where there is forgiveness of these, there is no longer any offering for sin. Therefore, my friends, since we have confidence to enter the sanctuary by the blood of Jesus, by the new and living way that he opened for us through the curtain, that is, through his flesh, and since we have a great priest over the house of God, let us approach with a true heart and full assurance of faith, with our hearts sprinkled clean from an evil conscience and our bodies washed with pure water. Let us hold fast to the confession of our hope without wavering, for he who has promised is faithful. And let us consider how to provoke one another to love and good deeds, not neglecting to meet together, as is the habit of some, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day approaching. Our second reading is from the book of Mark, chapter 13, verses 1 through 8. As he came out of the temple, one of his disciples said to him, "Look, teacher, what large stones and what large buildings." And Jesus asked him, "Do you see these great buildings? Not one stone will be left here upon another. All will be thrown down." When he was sitting on the Mount of Olives, opposite the temple, Peter, James, John, and Andrew asked him privately, "Tell us when these things will be, and what will be the sign that all these things are about to be accomplished?" Then Jesus said to them, "Beware that no one leads you astray. Many will come in my name and say, 'I am he,' and they will lead many astray. When you hear of wars and rumors of wars, do not be alarmed. This must take place. But the end is still to come. For nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be earthquakes in various places. There will be famines. This is but the beginning of the birth pangs." The word of God, the people of God.
Thanks be to God. through here, I want to know Jesus before he comes back, right?
Yeah! What should we do?
Well, we can get some clean buckets and send them down to the flooded areas.
Well, that's a good idea. Those buckets really help when there's been dreadful flooding.
But it's not just the flooding or storms. People are fighting against each other. They're turning against each other.
Oh, Jesus, protect us from all this.
But you know what? Jesus also tells us how we're supposed to live while we wait.
That's right. There's Micah chapter 6, verse 8. What does the Lord require of you? To act justly and to love mercy and to walk humbly with your God.
And James 1:27 says, pure and undefiled religion in the sight of our God and Father is this, to visit orphans and widows in their distress, to keep oneself unstained by the world.
And to pray in secret.
And we should preach the gospel. You know, we have Jesus, and these terrible things frighten us. What about people who don't have Jesus?
They must be really afraid.
They probably are.
You know, I'm so afraid, and I have Jesus. Thank you both for your encouragement. Aw, honey. Isn't there a verse about that in Hebrews?
Yeah, he tells us to keep meeting together, encouraging one another, and trusting that he is faithful.
So many people have stopped coming to church. Maybe we should encourage them.
We have to encourage them. The people who are coming and those who aren't. We should call them.
We can start now!
Yeah. God bless you for coming. So glad you're here. Nice to see you. God bless you. Glad to be here.
And Kurt. We're getting there. Okay. Can everybody hear okay? This is what we'll hold on to for when Ben comes up in a few minutes. This is what we'll figure out. So thank you for your grace. Thank you for your patience. The band took a vote before we started today because Rick has to be at urgent care at 12:30, and he said if you just shorten your message, he'd get there on time. I hear a lot of amens under your breath. I'm not. But you know what? We could almost end right there at the end of the skit. Jesus is coming. Jesus said, no, excuse me, the angels as the disciples stood there at the beginning of Acts, watching Jesus go up to heaven on a cloud. This one day he'll come back just the same way. Revelation tells us the same. But we live here. And our faith, don't fall off this, our faith is not about sometime out there, sometime up there. We believe in Jesus Christ that we are saved by the grace of God, not through anything we can do. But we live here. We live here now. And while the Bible talks pretty clearly about end times, well, depending on what your definition of clear is, we don't know when it will be. Could be in 30 seconds, 30 minutes, 30 hours, days, years, 30 billion years, I don't know. I know that if you are sent to a pretty conservative Baptist university for your education, you are taught how to count the days. You take a little from Daniel, a little from Revelation, a little from Ezekiel, a little from here, a little from there, and they have mathematical equations that you go through for days. I'm telling you, the trigonometry wasn't that difficult. And then they say, but we really don't know. Well, Jesus said that right up front. We'll save all that. And if you were walking with Jesus, if you were one of the disciples walking with Jesus in Jerusalem that day, going by the temple, and Jesus said, see these stones? They will be one off the other and levels will be destroyed. These were not small stones. These are taller than a man. Perfectly cut, fit together so that you cannot slide a piece of paper in between them. This would have been mind-boggling for the disciples. Although it should not have been impossible, because remember Solomon's temple was destroyed. God's temple was the one that Solomon built. You know what I mean? This is just lots of fun. So it didn't happen before. But they were going, oh my gosh. This is our national icon. This is the one symbol that we have of who we are. This is God's house on earth. This is the center of our worship. Our sacrifices happen here. That cannot be. There's nothing left. And it did come to pass 30 or 40 years from now. So when they're all by themselves, they asked Jesus, and it's coming, okay? How do we know? What will it look like? When will it be? The question we like to ask from time to time is if you knew that today was the day, the last day of earth as we know it, would it change you in some way? And if you're faithful, I don't want to hear about panic. I want to know how it would change how you live your last day. And Jesus goes through and he tells them there will be signs of war. We're going past this passage. There will be famine, there will be poverty, there will be hunger, there will be illness, there will be sickness, there will be death, there will be people who marry and bury. Life goes on. And at the beginning and at the end of these passages where Jesus talks about the end of time, the basic instruction, you be awake. You be ready. You live. So your faith matters. In the way that you live with one another. Even this passage says, these are but the pangs of earth. Something new is going to happen. The end is the beginning. There are ways to interpret things. You know, we get that. And there are whole studies that people do about the end will come and Jesus will come and we're going to be judged. Believe me, we know. But that's the end of the beginning. We know that if we study our own natural history, asteroids have come, struck the earth, cataclysmically changed the environment. Whole species disappeared. Some even experienced ice ages. And yet out of the death and destruction comes new life. Yes, California is a huge concern, and nothing that we said this morning can take away from the devastation and the heartache. We're not belittling this. But if you've ever visited Yellowstone, then you know the story. That devastating fires made room for new life. They're part of nature that we just built houses in front of. New life comes from death. If you have never experienced the Friday afternoon pink slip in your envelope at work, some of you thinking like, what is he talking about? In the old days, you used to get a paycheck in your hand. And if the company decided that they were finished with you, you got a pink slip and said, that's it, you're done, we don't need you on Monday. And there are many of us who've experienced that at least once in our life. And in the moment, it was the end of the world as we knew it. But there's a plan out there. And somehow, do something new and better. We raise our children. No parent. Okay, not many parents look forward to the day that their child grows up, goes to college. And for some parents, their entire world shuts down because it was completely centered around that child. But as they're moving on, it makes new life possible. That empty nest made new life possible within that family. The devastation for some who graduate from college, they go, oh my goodness, now what do I do? What do I do? What's next? All I know is fraternity, sorority, student union, study, job. Out at the end of one is new opportunity. There is not a soul who would wish devastation, separation, brokenness in their family. Not one. None. Many experience that brokenness, hurt, and that pain. That world is gone. But there's something new. There's new opportunities, new life, new joy. Recommending the path. Just telling you that sometimes life changes. The end does not mean the end. It means the beginning. When Jesus was hanging on the cross, he gave up his spirit. Remember what happened? There was a mighty cloud, earthquake, like an earthquake. The tombs opened. Some who had died were released. The curtain that separated the people from the inner sanctum of the temple was torn. As Hebrews said, sacrifice has been made, that all might have new life from death. And the death of Jesus was but a time of a new beginning in a new way. And yes, we can talk about it. Jesus is going to come. And some ways of understanding it is some of us will be taken out and the rest of us will be left behind and all that bull. But when I read the scripture, it says, I am the Alpha and the Omega, and I am doing something new. Revelation 21:5-6. See, I am making all things new. So write these words, for they are trustworthy and true. And then he said, it is done. I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. To the thirsty I give water as a gift from the spring of the water of life. Does that sound like the end to you? And it goes on to describe the New Jerusalem coming down to earth with the gates open. And we find out that the end is the beginning. When Adam and Eve experienced the end of the Garden of Eden, God went with them. When Joseph was taken into Israel, it was the end of his life as he knew it. God went with him. When it was time for the Hebrews to be taken out of the land of Egypt, God went with them. It was the end of 400 years, the beginning of something new. When they went into the land, it was the end of their time in the wilderness and the beginning of something new. And after warning after warning after warning after warning, when it was time for them to be exiled from the promised land, it was the end, the beginning of something new. And when the exile was over and they came back from Babylon, it was the end, the beginning of something new. In our world, we are faced with devastation and change. The end. If you lived in Antebellum South in the 1800s, it was the end of a way of life. For many, the end of the world. But for many who experienced bondage for 200 plus years, it was a new life, a new beginning, a new hope. At each juncture of our life, there are endings. There are beginnings. And one day, each of us will pass from this life. None of us will escape that. Unless Jesus comes before I say amen. Never say never. But that's not the end. That is a new beginning. That is the hope that we hang on to when our world is falling apart. When our church is struggling and fighting over divisions, real differences, you know what? Denominations have ended before and begun. And from the ashes of the fallen, a renewal, a revival. Because you know what? Whatever's happening in your life, collective lives. God has a plan. God holds the future. God knows the when, the why, the how. We live in faith, in hope, in promise, with that new life that is already here and now in Jesus Christ. Amen. Will you pray with me? Jesus, as we walk with you, as we wonder about the future, we wonder, will our cancers heal? Will our families find a way to stay together in spite of our past hurts? Or our churches? And what about our country? Will those in authority wisely lead us through present dangers? Will the world beset us by so many tensions and difficulties come apart or implode under the weight of so many problems, so many issues? Lord Jesus, we do not know what the future holds, but we do know who holds the future. So do not leave us to our own devices, Lord. Keep working with us. Keep overcoming our evil with your good. Keep loving us into your promised future. For those who are hurting, we pray your comfort and presence. For those who are ill, your healing touch. For those who grieve, we pray your comfort and assurance that you are with them even in the valley of the shadow of death. God, we offer you our sins as we repent from our hearts. Cleanse us. Make us new. That the one who has overcome death, that we might have life. Forgive us. Lead our church where you would have it go. Guide us in thankfulness and thanksgiving, because, as Paul wrote, in all things give thanks. And so in our hearts in this moment, we pause to give you thanks for your presence in our lives, for warmth, for shelter, for loved ones, the opportunity to serve you, for our basic needs, and enough to share. For your love, that we would love one another in the world around us. In the name of Jesus Christ, who teaches us to pray, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not to temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen. And we're going to invite you up right now for a moment of ministry to describe what we're about to do in our commissioning and why it's important. Would you do that for us? This one should be on. If it's not, then I'll hand you this one. Just straight back and forth. Okay? So let's use this one. Let's pass it back and forth. Okay. We'll use this.
Good morning. My name is Ben Dansberger, and I'm the coordinator of the lay pastor ministry here at St. Paul Church. So you may ask, what is a lay pastor ministry? For that, to answer that, I'm going to refer you to this insert in today's bulletin. It does a very good job, a lot better job than I do, explaining the details of the ministry. But essentially, the lay pastor ministry is here to assist and help the pastor. It doesn't replace Pastor Waller, but we do help him tend to flock. You see right on there, it says tend to flock. And so to become a lay pastor minister, you have training. And then your commission, which I'm thankful to say we're going to have a commissioning here this morning of the latest candidates for lay pastor. And then you're assigned a flock, and you take care of the flock by praying for them, contacting them, being available for them, and setting an example for them. So if anyone has any interest in becoming a lay pastor, I would ask you to contact me, contact Pastor Waller, contact Pastor Charles. Charles is our leader. Would you?
We're going to do better than that, Charles. Would you come up, please? You thought you can't hide. So for those of you who do not know Reverend Charles Harold, he is our pastor of congregational care and visitation, and he works with Ben and the lay pastor flock, and it's a whole new responsibility because we have people that do. I'm very grateful to you all for that. You're all pastors, one way or the other. That's our calling. What these two do in their team is train you to do better. Give you an opportunity to expand the kingdom of God by reaching out, being in the presence of Jesus Christ to one another. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to invite Jean Colleen Lane and Beth Rogers to come up. They're going to be commissioned. And while I'm present as senior pastor, Reverend Charles, I'm going to turn this over to you and Ben.
Okay.
And rest my days for a couple minutes for this. But God bless you. Thank you.
Very good. All right, here's the printout. Excellent. Pastor Waller knows very well that it's risky to hand a member of the clergy microphone at any time. So I'm going to... Josh is a plan! So I just want to say this is an important ministry in the life of the church. It has had its ups and downs over the years, but not ups and downs in terms of effectiveness, ups and downs in terms of being populated. And it's important because it leverages the ministry pastor to be able to care for the flock and to extend the reach into the community, into the church, local church community. Congregations need both outreach and in-reach. This is an expression of the in-reach of St. Paul Church. We appreciate speaking as one who works with it, essentially as a coach, Ben is the leader of the ministry. I am deeply appreciative of Pastor Walter's enabling and support of this ministry over the years, because without that, it would literally be impossible to do this work. So we're going to have this order of commissioning, and you see the names of the people on the screen who are being commissioned today: Jean Lane, Colleen Lane, and Beth Rogers. Beloved in Christ, our Lord has given many ministries for the upbuilding of the church, for the care of the flock of God, and for the deepening of the walks of the saints. These ministries are an ongoing sign and expression of God's constant presence and care for his people. The lay pastoring ministry is a living out of the call of all believers to bear one another's burdens and so fulfill the law of Christ. Through the PACE, P-A-C-E, ministries of discipline, prayer, dependable availability, regular contact, and credible example. You see what we did there? That spells PACE. Lay pastors further the care of the local church for our members and extend the effectiveness of the ordained pastor. Lay pastoring is one specific way in which we, the church, live out Christ's prayer that we might be one as Jesus and his Father are one. Today, we commission these persons we've just named before God and ask your prayerful support and encouragement. So I'm going to ask Ben now as our lay pastor ministry leader. I ask you now, are these persons selected, trained, and prepared to assume the role of lay pastors under the guidance and blessing of the Holy Spirit and under the leadership and discipline of the church? If so, will you say they are?
Yes, they are.
And I ask you now, our new lay pastors, are you ready under the guidance with the help of God to assume the duties of a lay pastor? If so, we say, I am. Do you acknowledge yourself to be a sinner, saved by the grace of Jesus Christ, through faith in him by the power of the blood of the cross? And the answer is, I do. Are you striving to grow in your own walk with Christ and to help deepen the faith of others? The answer is, I am. Will you be obedient to the order and discipline of the church, responsible to its leaders and as a shepherd of others, an encourager and teammate with your fellow lay pastors and shepherds, and give the best of yourself in service to the Lord? So we say, I will.
I will.
Will you faithfully give of yourself to the work of prayer, availability, contact, and example, that Christ's people may be cared for and that God may be glorified? And if so, we say, I will by the grace of God.
I will by the grace of God.
Church, will you, the church, pray for, bless, and encourage these servants of Christ and, by the way, servants of yours in their work of lay pastoring? I now invite any of the lay pastors who are among us here this morning to stand as they're able as well. Yes, indeed we do. We have Gary in the back. Yep, Gary is one of our shepherds. All right, I'm going to ask Pastor Walter if he would share with me in laying hands on our lay pastors. I have one hand, and I'm just going to do this. Gracious God, let us pray. Gracious God, good shepherd of all, we thank you for your watchfulness over the people of your flock. Bless these servants of yours, that they may fulfill the call to share in the servant leadership of those who care for the flock of God. Grant them faithfulness in their service, fruitfulness in its results, and the blessing of heaven as they bless others through Christ our Lord. And all God's people said, Amen. Go to serve the Lord with gladness. Thanks be to God.
Will you join me in affirming and thanking God for
So much to be thankful this week. We pause now for our tithes and our offering. If you invite our ushers to come forward at this time.